Greetings, Elder Black Light. Now, have you ever heard of a black people taking a whole city from white people, running them out of town? I know that most of y'all used to hearing them white people taking over our cities, bombing our cities, running us out of town, fleeing. But let me tell you something that happened to me. This is a story about way back in the day, way black in the day, really, between 19, I say 1956 to 1967. We're going back to the beginning in 1956 to 1957. See, back in those days, 1967, back in those days, we were a tight-knitted community, even though we had, our little gangs and whatever. But in Detroit, when blacks moved from the east side, because they was making good money at the Chrysler plants, to the west side, west of Woodward, the northwest side in Pacific, to be Pacific, on Wildermere, Finkel. I told you this story before, but maybe some of y'all ain't heard it. I was about 11. Wildermere and Finkel, between Dexter, Linwood, Davidson, Puritan, I said Davidson, right? Going to the school called Custer Elementary, post junior high, then Mumford. Well, yeah, we were fighting each other in gangs and stuff like that. But those white boys, those hot rodders and motorcycle gang, we had fights between schools too. Northern, Northwestern, especially at basketball and football games. But those white boys, those Fonzie type white boys, and Italians and Jews, Catholics and Jews, didn't want us over there. So to make a long story short, we banded together, kicked them out of our neighborhood. And if they wanted to do business in our neighborhood, they had to pay taxes. Then ultimately, we didn't know their daddies, and their daddies was the police, the Palmer Park police, and Livernois over there on, I think that was the 12th precinct. We didn't know that was their daddies, and they gave us a hard time for standing on the corner. The white boys were standing on the corner all day. But when the brothers started doing it, they would run us in for loitering or give us a ticket or hassle us. So we started jacking the police up, turning over their cars. So we got so bad that they wanted to call in Vietnam veterans. Now this is moving towards the end of the 60s. Now this is when dope had just was hitting hard in Detroit. So they had an excuse to kick in doors and stop cars and tear out the interior of cars. So, but in the 67, you know, we had the Panthers, all types of black nationalist group shooting. And so we ran them out the city. Then after that, elected a black mayor. Then they really ran out the city because he hired half and half black uh, police unit. But today, it's going the other way. Now, we're going to, pass the mic to Dr. Naeem Akbar, telling you about what's happening now.
The Muslims against the Hebrew Israelites. All this mess that started then is still going on now. It's because we are schizophrenic. Our minds are split, schizoid. We are not one self as we're supposed to be. You see, the unity, the commonality. You see, and you see, commonality, unity does not mean uniformity. Everybody doesn't look alike. In fact, a part of what makes the unity so deep is that everybody is bringing in a unique contribution to the unity. So you got different colors, you got different sizes, you got different movements, you got different rhythms, you got different tones, you got different levels, everything. And that's coming together and moving in a common direction makes that force a powerful and effective force, and that's the real source of our effectiveness as a community. But the idea is that if you bust that up and begin to make the elements fight against each other, then you lose the power of a united mind, a united African movement. You can't get people to move in a united way unless they understand their connectedness. And the fact that I have no self without the self of my children, without the self of my mother, without the self of my wife, without the self of those things that make up my family and my community. You are a part of me. I have no reality without you. So this idea of the social self is something that is the uniquely African contribution to the whole thing. So you have two dimensions now. And then the book, Know Thyself, has a diagram of it. The lowest dimension is the dimension of the personal, physical self. Me, my, I. But that self is tiny compared to the social self, which makes all of us a self, a personality, a being that transcends our individuality. So we continue to live as long as the community lives. One of the things that we used to do, let me just give another example of this. You've heard of the extended family. The fact that this notion that Hillary Clinton stole from Africa about it takes a village to raise a child. She didn't steal it. She said where she got it from. But white folks started quoting her as if she made up this proverb. But this idea of it takes a village to raise a child is this recognition that as a community, we always understood it ain't your children. You don't have children by yourself. Your children are my children. The children belong to me. The women of our communities, they are our women. Not in their physical individuality, but the extent to which they need the support, the companionship, and the max energy of a male energy force. I am that male, they are my women. Simultaneously, I am their man. Not in a simple, physical, carnal way, but we constitute a collectiveness. And that's why when they busted up our families, they thought they messed us up, but we continue to grow and thrive and build and raise children and support each other and raise our children with an understanding of who they were, even on the plantation, because they had busted up the individual nuclear family, but they couldn't bust up the village and the community that held us all together. And that's the power of this thing. We started imitating white folks. When we decided we wanted to be just like Father Knows Best, we wanted to have us a nuclear family. Don't you put your hand on my child. What you mean, your child? This child has a need. This is our child. This child is in trouble. This is our child. This child has the need to be educated. This is our child. And as long as we thought that way, we were all right. But when it became mine, and when you begin to pull back into these little insulated enclaves locked up in your apartment with your own biological kin, then you started developing some real problems. Because when we were a community, there was no such thing as father absence.
So once upon a time, way back in the day in Detroit, way black in the day in Detroit, we ran the white man out of his own city. For 20 years, with those Boule and Uncle Tom, unrighteous brothers and sisters, with larceny in their heart, brought them back. They call it the Renaissance now. Yeah, it was white flight back in those days. We didn't know how to take control. It leads up to what's happening now. They might not let that happen again if they get caught slipping. Then the brothers and sisters, y'all young brothers and sisters nowadays, y'all ain't I don't know if y'all got the kind of heart we had. One day I'm gonna try to go over the whole concept of how I was brought up. I was unique. The concept that brought me up was the black man is supreme, God of the universe. My brothers call that racism and black superiority and all like that. They stupid as hell. And I'm gonna tell you why on the next video. This is Black Light, over and out.